What it takes to be the #1 player in the world at a video game. Hello everybody and welcome back. Today's video is going to be a little different than the videos I've been putting out. I know a large part of my initial subscriber base occurred during Christmas this year, and I know that a lot of those subscribers were newer to Madden, which got me to thinking there's probably a real diversity overall in my subscriber base, and I think that each person has different goals and identities when it comes to gaming. But you wouldn't be subbed to this channel if you weren't interested in gaming. And let's face it, when we game, we want to win, or at least do well and be competitive if we're playing against other humans. Now personally, at least right now, I don't really care a lot about playing against other humans in Madden. I'm just being honest with you guys. I have too many other interests to devote the time to go from a pretty good player to a pro level player. Not that I don't consider it periodically, because honestly, I don't have the desire. I honestly just enjoy playing franchise and building a MUT squad because frankly my favorite part of Madden is actually team building. But again, I think it would be nice for my subscribers to be able to understand what it takes to be quote-unquote an elite video gamer. So I'm going to break that down for you guys a little bit here. Who knows, maybe it'll help you guys put into perspective your goals and your gaming identity just a little bit better. So, and again, I'll be showing my age here, but I, that idiot K-Goat who has been putting out these Madden videos lately, actually was #1 in the world at an online game. And that game was Duke Nukem. I hit #1 as the game was beginning to slow down and other games were just beginning to take over. But I was a very good player. I really was. In case you guys don't know, Duke Nukem was the biggest and most popular online first-person shooter back in the mid to late 90s. We had two services that we used to play online games, and those services were called 10 and Kali. Kali was free and 10 was a paid monthly subscription. Back then we had what were called ladders, which is basically a ranking system, and 10 had their own proprietary ranking system. But believe me, the competition was fierce. Despite constantly having to fight lag because most of us were connecting with 56K modems over the phone at the time, there were a lot of players, and for me, I started playing online pretty late, so there were already legends and great players who had actually even retired from the game at that point. But anyway, one night I decided to sign on to 10 because you got your first month for free, and I played and I literally got my tail kicked. I was getting destroyed, and by destroyed I mean humiliated. And it did not bother me a bit. It was so much fun. Never before had I been able to see an actual real-life human across the screen from me, in this case in the form of a Duke Nukem avatar, of course. And I was literally hooked that night. I started asking questions of anyone who would answer to find out how these other guys got so good. We didn't have DMs back then, and we didn't even have YouTube. We would just have to talk via typing in-game or if we were in a lobby. But we were able to make friends, and slowly but surely I was able to learn some of the ins and outs and get better day by day. Little did I realize that within about 3 or 4 months, I would tell myself, I'm going to be the best at this game. And, fortunately, that's exactly what happened. I would watch demos. Though basically demos are recordings that you'd have to download and you'd have to drop them into your Duke Nukem system files to actually be able to watch them in game. And anyway, these demos were of the greats, and I was just watching and seeing how they moved, how they aimed, and just how they played in general. And a buddy and I happened to pair up every single night, and we would play for hours practicing maneuvers that we saw the pros using, and eventually both of us started climbing up the ladder rankings. I was fortunate enough that I had some pretty decent aiming skills, but my specialty was movement. And I started creating my own style of play, using movement to overwhelm my opponents versus just mechanical skills like aiming. And that's when my game really took off. But it took probably 4 to 6 hours a night, easy, and pretty much every waking moment of the day. Even at my full-time job and just sitting in classes in graduate school, it's all I thought about. I would make maps, draw routes, I would study, I would study, I would study, I would practice, I would practice, I would practice. And just when I thought I was getting really good, An elite player would humble me and put me in my place, and I would sit there and just soak it all up. I would beg these elite players to show me what I was doing wrong and what I was doing right. I mean, it literally became a full-time job, which was really tough for somebody who already had a full-time job. I had a kid and I was in graduate school. I literally would sometimes stay up till 6 in the morning playing and practicing. Eventually, after probably a year, my buddy kind of plateaued, and I started gaining the respect of the elite players, and they began letting me into their circle. And then finally, boom, I started beating those guys. Guys I thought were unbeatable by a normal human. I started kicking their tails, and then before I knew it, I hit #1 on both the ladder and on 10. It was to me one of the greatest achievements in my life, and it still is, to be honest. It really was awesome, you guys. I can't lie to you. But the cost? Wow. I can't even relay to you or convey to you just how much time, effort, energy it took to learn every single nuance of every single movement, every single map, mouse sensitivity hacks, connection optimizations, FPS hacks, secrets in the game, glitches, player tendencies. I mean, again, it really was a full-time job, and a very intense one at that. Had I done that when Quake 3 came out, which was just a year or two later, I have no doubts that I would still be a pro gamer to this day. Quake 3 was when they first started dishing out big money for gamers, and it's really when the term pro gamer became a term. Alas, I had a career and family that I needed to focus on, and so the gaming basically just died out for me, at least competitively. So did my time as a high-level competitive gamer, and I was perfectly happy with that. Back in Madden 16, I started playing MUT honestly by accident, and I kind of got hooked. I started watching videos of really good players, and long story short, I got that competitive feel again. And even though I didn't dedicate myself nearly as much as I did before, I did actually put some effort into playing competitively and wanted to test myself to see if I actually still had it at my advanced age. And sure enough, playing several hours a night, watching some videos, ordering a couple of ebooks, I was able to begin controlling games. And finally, I was beating top 25 guys pretty handily. I have no doubt that I could have at least become a competitive player for money if I had stuck with it. But again, life, you guys. It wasn't a priority compared to my family and my businesses, and at the time, mixed martial arts, which was my favorite hobby. And that is what I wanted to kind of end this video out on. Priorities when it comes to gaming. Okay? So here are some tips from an old dude who has some level of success in video games that might help you guys to define who you are as a gamer and to be comfortable with that definition. And really quick, before we get into these tips, I want to talk about basically a tip. In terms of if you decide to become a competitive gamer, my advice to you, just like in Duke Nukem 3D for me, and even in Quake, I had good aiming skills, but my talent lied in my movement and my ability to control maps. I was able to literally tweak every single step that I took to literally enhance it and to make myself faster. There were times where it felt like people would say, it feels like you're running twice as fast as I am. And it wasn't because I had some hack or anything, it's that I knew exactly how to move and how to cut the corners just right, and how to strafe, and how to actually just control the map that made it feel like I was everywhere, right? And we've all felt that in Madden, right? We play somebody and we feel like they just got us blanketed. They're just everywhere, right? And it's not a secret. It's just that that person has a skill set, right? Everybody has a particular skill set, something that they do well in a video game with, right? And for you, if you're going to be a competitive gamer, my suggestion to you is to enhance that particular skill set. Having one dominant skill set can set you apart from the average or even above average competitive player, right? Being well-rounded is important, but enhancing a skill set so you have something that is a buzzsaw for somebody to run into, right? It's kind of like in mixed martial arts. The way it's developed, everybody's a hybrid now. But it used to be some people were elite level strikers. Some people were elite level grapplers, right? And that was what they relied on. And that is what shot them to the top of the charts, right? So that's just a quick tip. If you do want to be competitive, find the thing you do best in the game and enhance it so that you can literally rely on that when times are tough, and you can smother most people with it. So anyway, let's get back to the tips, okay? Tip number 1. This one is exactly what we just talked about. Assess your priorities. If you have a job, a family, other favorite hobbies, whatever, you probably have Madden pretty far down on your list of priorities. If you don't have a passion and the prioritization of a game, you are not going to be a #1 type player. And there's literally nothing wrong with that. But I do believe it's important to know where you stand, know your lot in life. Are you a casual player? Like somebody who can play a couple of times a week, maybe? Then if you are, then competitive playing isn't going to be the easiest thing in the world for you, because there are tons of Madden players out there who are just going to be better because they're able to devote the time and energy to it, whereas you aren't. In that case, maybe Madden is more fun just playing against friends and with family, or maybe just fun to build teams or play a little bit against the CPU and just have fun. Are you a moderate level player? And by that I mean that you have some passion for the game, but you also have a life to live, like work, eat, sleep, laugh, love, that type of stuff, right? With all that, you still have time because you like Madden enough that it's more of a priority for you than other hobbies. So you're one of those guys kind of stuck in the middle. Not quite enough time to dedicate to beat pros consistently, but enough time to be able to beat most players you face, or to at least be competitive. Finally, are you a high-level guy? What this means is that you not only have good skill, but you have a passion for the game and dedicate probably inordinate energy and time toward Madden or 2K or whatever game that you're playing. Usually when this happens, it happens by accident. You start playing a game, you get your tail kicked, but something clicks in your mind and you can't stand not being able to figure out how somebody else beat you. And so you begin to become, honestly, a little obsessed. This is the category of people, I think, out of which future champions are born. The Rafas, the Cyphers, the Henrys, the Problem Rights, the Skimbos, each of them experienced this internal definition after somehow becoming obsessed. And each of these types of guys has dedicated a huge portion of their lives to one particular game. And each of these self-identities are perfectly fine. There has to be a balance in all of our lives, but understanding where we stand when it comes to that balance can really help us to relieve some stress when playing any particular game. And in the end, have more fun because we know where we stand. And that kind of leads into tip number 2. Once you've figured out who you are as a gamer, be comfortable with that. I'll use myself as an example. I'm kind of stuck here in the middle because I don't really have the competitive passion, and I'm not willing to dedicate myself to becoming a truly top-end player because I do have other priorities that are just more important to me in my life. I have no doubts that I could literally take a month or two, lab my tail off, play competitively, and I'd be at a pretty dang high level in Madden, right? But it's just not something I want to devote my energies toward. There's really no payoff for me. But I will tell you, the temptation really is there at the same time. That competitor in me really hungers to, I don't know, to compete and to dominate, right? It's just the truth. And this is why I kind of avoid playing Madden competitively too much, because I know that if I start, that competitor in me is really likely going to come out. And suddenly I'm going to find myself back where I was with Duke Nukem and start wanting to play this game all the damn time and literally eat and breathe Madden. And I just don't want to do that. I simply have too many other things in my life. And there's really, again, no payoff for me personally to becoming elite at Madden other than just ego. So I'm coming to terms with the fact that I can play simply for fun, but I can also still dip my feet in and share some of my gaming skills or knowledge or abilities or whatever to figure out successful strategies and help you guys become better. And that's helped me to feel less stressed with playing and just knowing my place and being satisfied with that. And I think we just don't talk about this enough in the gaming community. To quote unquote yield and admit that you don't have the desire to be the #1 player in the world and that you are, say, average or decently average as a competitive player, and to be comfortable with that, it's not a knock on you. It's actually a strength. It means that you have prioritized who you are and the aspects of your life that are important. And a game like, say, Madden fits somewhere in there, but maybe not at a super high level, right? Once you've let go of the quote unquote, I've got to be the best mentality and understand that nobody is the best, that everybody loses, and that to be at a certain level in a game means devoting a certain amount of energy and time to be at whatever level you might be, and to be satisfied and happy with that is really the challenge when it comes to gaming. And that leads into the final tip, tip number 3, and probably the most important tip I can give you guys when it comes to gaming. There is only one purpose to gaming for the vast majority of people. One. And that's to have fun. What is the dang point of playing a video game if you can't relax, enjoy it, and escape from the stresses of life for just a little bit? If you're not having fun with Madden, and believe me, I think most of us have experienced playing a game where we start to feel overwhelmed by other players or even the CPU at times, and we feel like failures, and the game becomes more stressful, almost like a job, because we start trying to get better versus just enjoying the game and knowing our lot in this particular gaming life. Once we realize that, as long as we play, we're going to get better, sort of in unison or conjunction with the amount of time that we actually put into the game, and to just enjoy that level of progress, no matter how slow or how fast that progress may occur. When we can do that, we free ourselves mentally to just having fun and enjoying the time. Take it from a guy who literally has climbed the ladder to the top, who's devoted more than full-time hours and energy to a game, and the mental stress that this can cause. It's just not for most people, and most people need to be okay with that. I simply cannot do that anymore, and I have to be satisfied with that, or else I'm not going to have any fun, and I'm going to become a glutton for my own punishment. Be honest, if you've watched this video all the way to this point, you already know you've experienced what I'm talking about here. So in the end, my point is that to be elite at any competitive game takes an inordinate amount of time, energy, and mental and emotional focus, and it is a rare breed that can do it and sustain it at a high level. And that rare breed, they not only have to have the skill, but they have to have the passion and the time to devote to that passion to become elite. For the vast majority of us, the stars just don't align that way, and it's okay. Simply figure out where you stand and be happy with that. And in doing so, I think you're going to enjoy any game that you play that much more. I hope this video has been helpful to you guys. Be on the lookout for the next one. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And as always, have a great day.